And little did I know that this was the most important seed I planted in my life.
Welcome to Prism of Torah with Rabbi Asaf Aaron Prisman, engaging Divrei Torah, packed with stories and practical insights. Find us wherever you get your podcasts or at prismoftorah.org.
Shalom uvracha. In this week's Parsha, Parshas Behar, Bechukosai. In Parshas Behar, we have a very interesting pasuk that seems a bit puzzling. In Perek Kafei Pasuk Lamed Hey, it says the following: V'chi yamuch achicha, which literally translates to, if you see your brother, he's going down, he requires your help. And then again, very repetitive, the same idea. Umatei yado, and is leaning towards you with his hand, asking for help. Then it says a word that seems to be, there's no room for it. And it says, Imach, again, with you. We understand the idea. He's asking for your help. But what is this word, Imach, with you, telling you? And then again, we have this repetitiveness. What should you do to this person that's asking for your help? Ve'chezakta bo. Hold on to him, help him out. And again, v'cha imach. And you should live with him, implying that you should help him. So twice, we have this idea of helping him. He requires help. And twice it says how to help him. And then smack in the middle, it says, with you, Imach. What's going on? So I want to suggest the following answer based on the Or HaChaim HaKadosh. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh says that the pasuk is hinting to another type of poor person. Aside from a poor person that requires your help, physically speaking, he requires money, etc. There's also someone that is called ani bedat, meaning on his Yiddishkeit level, in spirituality, he's a poor person, and he requires your help. And hence, I want to extrapolate this idea to say that not only are we talking about a poor person, that he's poor from the perspective of he requires your financial support, but we're also talking about someone that's poor in ruchnius, like the Or HaChaim HaKadosh is saying, and you should help him out. But more than that, or parallel to that, also a person can be poor emotionally. He might not be in the best emotional state right now, and you should see that he requires your help and help him. But here comes the game clincher. The word imach in the middle perhaps is telling you, if you really want to help him, and you want it to work, which obviously the Torah wants you to do that, then you have to feel and show him and portray the idea that you're imach, you're together with him. Ke'ish echad belev echad, together. And only that way you can affect him. And what's the Havana of that? What's the lamdus of that? The deep idea behind it is that when a person feels that you're with him, he doesn't feel that you're giving him and he has to feel bad, oh, he's helping me out. No, he's with me, we're together. So he doesn't feel bad when you give him money, you help him in any way, shape, or form. Kal v'chomer in ruchnius, when you want to affect him to help him uplift himself from a spiritual perspective, or even an emotional perspective, he won't be embarrassed. He'll be opened. The channels of listening to you and being positively impacted by you will be open. But that's all based on Imach, which reminds me of the Rav Shimon Shkop in Shari Yosher in his Akdama says, it's very, very short, I'll summarize what he says about this idea that, of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into nature, into the spiritual DNA that we would love ourselves, that each person loves himself, and that's normal. And the idea is not to go through life to try to dissipate your self-love, which is very important, but rather the idea is to extrapolate the definition of who you are, to include not only your Gashmiya side, but also your Ruchniya side. Not only that, another level is to include your family, that they're also part of you. And the higher level you go, the more you're part of all of Klal Yisrael, and a person that's a really high level, he feels that he's a part of a whole system here, of all the worlds, this world and all the worlds above us, Hashem created, and every act that we do, we actually give to everything. It gives sustenance to the world. As we know, we're approaching Shavuos, and we know that learning Torah gives, that's the fuel for the whole world. There are many chazals out there that tell us how important it is to be me'ir panim, to be nice to people, to say a good word. You have no idea what effect that can have. The Gemara in Bava Basra, Daf Tes Amud Beis says, Kol haneten pruta le'ani, whoever gives a bit of money to a poor person, mitbarech b'shesh brachot. You get 6 brachas. V'mefaiso b'dvarim, whoever says words that will enlighten him and help him out, you get 11 brachos. Mitbarech b'yudalet brachot. The Gemara in Kesuvos Daf Kuf Yud Aleph says, Tova malbin shinayim lechavero, yoter mimashkeu chalav. A person that shows the white in his teeth, i.e. symbolizing a smile towards a person, he's on a higher level than a person that gives him milk. You see this idea of uplifting someone emotionally and being nice, being positive, and creating a positive energy in the world, which can have an incredible influence. Before I end off with a story, it reminds me when I used to be the captain of the basketball team in certain places, I always would tell the coach, or if I was in charge, I would always want to ensure that we have someone in the team that will be in charge of, or he himself would infuse the team with morale, with positive energy, because that makes the world of a difference, even better than a great player. And I mentioned this a couple of years ago, and I'll mention it again. A good friend of mine is actually older than me, Howie Paskowitz. I did everything to ensure he'll be on my side, on our team, because he was the one that always injected in us this unity, this shleimus, this positive energy that with that made the world of a difference. I would like to end off with a true story that my wife heard from the Bala Maise when she went to one of the school meetings. They brought this person to speak, and she said the importance of these positive actions that a person should do towards others, especially towards your own kids. And she said that she had the son that was going a bit off the derech, and then suddenly he came back after he almost reached rock bottom. And he came up to his mother and he wanted to tell her why he came back. And he said to her, yeah, I got affected by several of my friends. And then we said, let's just leave everything and go to India. And we went to the airport. And in the airport, before we went, they said, let's go to the cafeteria here and have something to eat. And behind the area, like a window type of thing where all the cakes were, we chose a cake to eat, and I saw this 3-layered cake that looked unbelievable. But then, immediately, it reminded me of that cake that you made me, where I learned in the cheder, and you made it for the cheder, and everyone was raving about it, how professional it looked and unbelievable. And you made it in honor that I was Messiah, a certain Gemara. And then I said to myself, I can't believe I'm doing this. Look how much it means to my parents and to everyone when I learned Torah, when I was a good person, when I did chesed, did Torah and mitzvahs. How can I leave all this and just go? And that is the turning point that made me realize that's it. And I told my friends, I'm sorry, I just can't do this. I'm going back home. And as she was saying this story, this mother said, he doesn't know half of the story. That's just the second half. You know what the first half was? I'll never forget it. What happened was, there was a big event in my working place, and they knew that I was pretty professional in making cakes. So they wanted me to bring a very professional cake for the event we had at work. It happens to be that at the same time, my son asked for a cake for the cheder, for the siyum. So I made him a very simple cake. He was a little kid. What's the big deal? Meanwhile, I made for work this unbelievable 3-layered cake. It looked incredible, very professional. Both were in the fridge. My son woke up earlier than me going to cheder, to school, and he took he didn't know which cake is why he wanted to take the nice cake, so he took it. He thought I made it for him. As I woke up, I looked in the fridge. I couldn't believe it. There was dark in my eyes. I'm like, what? He took the good cake. She was about to call the cheder and say that there's a mistake. Let's switch the cakes. But then she said, wait a second. That's going to embarrass him. He was so proud of that cake, probably. He ran. How can I do it to him? So I found a plan B solution, whatever it was. I think I bought a cake at the end. And little did I know that this was the most important seed I planted in my life. Iratzon, that will go through life realizing how important it is to bring out this positive energy, think in a positive light, say positive things to people, If you see someone a bit down, ve'chezakta bo, like the Torah tells us. And how do we do that? Imach. You have to show him, you have to really feel in your heart you're together with him. Have a good job.
This concludes another episode of the Prism of Torah. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable. If you did, please subscribe to the podcast and give a 5-star rating. You can also find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts or our own website, prismoftorah.com, where we have a full archive of all our past episodes. We would like to thank Yona Vefa for the recording equipment and Ellie Podcast Productions for handling all our post-podcast productions. Join us next week for another enlightening conversation on the Prism of Torah.